You've been training your glutes for months, but they still look flat. You go to the gym consistently, you follow your program, you lift heavier every week, you push yourself hard. But when you look in the mirror, nothing really changes. There's no shape, no roundness, no visible progress. And that's frustrating, because you are actually trying. So you start questioning things. Maybe it's your genetics. Maybe your body just doesn't respond. Maybe you're doing something wrong. But here's the truth. It's not your genetics at all. Your glutes aren't failing. They're just not being trained properly. You squat heavy every week. You deadlift regularly. You even feel sore sometimes. So it feels like it should work. But your strength goes up while your glutes stay the same. That's the disconnect. Effort is there, but results are not. Because your glutes are not the limiting factor. Other muscles are. Your quads take over. Your lower back takes over. And your glutes just assist. They don't dominate. So even though you train, they don't get enough stimulus. That's why they don't grow. That's why they stay flat. You're doing the work, but the wrong muscles are doing it. Most people believe one simple idea. Lift heavier and you'll grow. So they double down on squats. They push harder on deadlifts. They add more volume, more sets, and more intensity. But nothing changes visually. The shape still isn't there. Because effort alone is not the trigger. That's the mistake. Your body doesn't grow from effort. It grows from tension. And not just any tension, it must be in the right muscle, at the right position, under the right mechanics. If that's wrong, growth will not happen. And that's exactly what most people miss. Now let's break down the science. This is where things change. Muscle force is not constant. It depends on muscle length. This is called the length-tension relationship. It's fundamental physiology. Inside your muscles are structures called sarcomeres. They generate force. They work through actin and myosin. These proteins interact to contract. When the muscle is slightly stretched, these structures align better. More cross bridges can form. That increases force output. But when the muscle is shortened, the overlap becomes inefficient, so fewer cross bridges form, and force drops. That's why position matters, more than most people realize. Now apply this to your glutes. This changes everything. Your glutes produce more force when they are stretched. That happens when your hips are flexed deeply, not when standing tall. So if you never train that position, you limit your results. You're leaving growth on the table without even realizing it. And that's exactly what most workouts do. They don't load the glutes properly in their strongest position. So the muscle never gets full tension and never fully adapts. This is not about effort, it's about biomechanics. And once you understand that, everything changes. Now let's talk about squats and deadlifts. This is important. They are great exercises, but they are not glute-focused. They are multi-joint movements. That means multiple muscles share the load. Your quads extend your knees. Your lower back stabilizes your spine. Your glutes help extend the hips, but they are not alone. So when the set gets hard, something reaches failure first, and it's usually not your glutes. That's the key problem. It's your quads burning out or your lower back giving up. So the set ends early, before glutes reach full activation. That means no full stimulus and no maximum growth. So you hit failure, but not glute failure. Your glutes still have capacity, but never get used. That's why strength increases, but shape does not. You train the movement, not the muscle. So the goal changes now, completely. It's not about doing more, it's about doing it right. You need to control where tension goes. That's the real skill. And to do that, you only need two things. Train the glutes in stretch and in contraction. That's the entire system. Let's start with the stretch position. This is where force is highest. The exercise is called the glute-focused step down. Very effective. Start by standing on a platform. One foot planted firmly. Let the other leg hang off. Keep your balance steady. Now slowly lower that leg toward the ground. As you do that, lean your torso forward slightly. Push your hips back like a hinge movement. This is not a squat. It's a hip-dominant pattern. Lightly tap the ground, then come back up. Drive through your heel, not your toes. That detail matters a lot. It changes the entire exercise. Driving through your heel shifts load to the posterior chain. That increases glute activation and reduces quad dominance. Now here's the key mechanism. This is where science applies. More hip flexion creates more stretch in the glute max. More stretch increases force output through length tension. So now your glutes are actually working at full capacity. This is what most people miss in traditional exercises. You're finally loading the glutes correctly in the right position. And that's what drives growth. Now there's another benefit that most people overlook. You're standing on one leg. That creates instability. Your body wants to rotate. Your pelvis wants to drop, so your glute medius activates. To stabilize your body, now you're training power and stability together, which is exactly how the glutes function in real movement. There's no lower back limitation here, no grip fatigue either, and no quad takeover, which is huge. This is pure glute training, done correctly. That's why it works so well. But most people still mess it up and lose all benefits. First mistake is rounding the lower back instead of hinging. That shifts tension away from the glutes into the spine. Second mistake is knee collapsing inward, losing stability. That reduces glute activation, especially the glute medius. Third mistake is pushing through the toes, not the heel. That brings the quads back into control, which we don't want. Fix these three things, and the exercise changes completely. Now you actually feel the glutes working properly, and that's what matters. Now let's move to the second part, the contraction position. Because stretch alone is not enough for full development. You also need strength. At peak contraction, that's where the hip thrust comes in. Very powerful exercise. It loads the glutes in a shortened position where maximum squeeze happens. At the top, this builds end range strength, which most people lack. Now let's set it up correctly, because details matter. Place your upper back on a bench. Keep it stable. Feet flat on the ground, shoulder width apart. Now adjust your foot position. This is critical. If your feet are too close, quads will take over. If they are too far, hamstrings will dominate. You want your knees stacked over your feet at the top. That's the position where glutes take most of the load. Now focus on your pelvis. This is the biggest mistake area. If you arch your lower back, you shift load to the spine, not your glutes, which defeats the purpose. Instead, slightly tuck your pelvis, posterior tilt. Now drive your hips up with control, but don't just lift the weight. That's not the goal. Focus on squeezing your glutes at the top position, and think about scooping your hips forward, not just pushing up. This creates better activation, even with less weight. You might not lift as heavy, but the stimulus is higher, and that's what actually matters for growth. Now let's fix the common mistakes so you don't waste effort. First is overarching the lower back instead of using glutes. Second is wrong foot placement, which shifts tension away. Third is rushing reps without full contraction. Fix these three things, and the difference is immediate. You will feel your glutes working much more clearly, and that's the signal that you're doing it right. Now you have both parts. Stretch and contraction. This is the full picture of glute training. So here's the truth. Glute growth is not complicated. You don't need 10 exercises. You don't need crazy routines. You need the right mechanics in the right positions. One exercise loads the stretch, one loads the contraction. Together, they cover the full range of the muscle. That's how you build shape. That's how you build strength. Now let's make this practical so you can apply it. Train both exercises 2 to 3 times per week. Do 3 sets each. Keep it simple. Aim for 8 to 12 reps with good control. Each week, increase load slightly, about 2 to 5%, or add 1 to 2 reps, if weight stays the same. Rest about 60 to 90 seconds between sets. Focus on quality, not just quantity, and stay consistent. That's what drives results. If you follow this correctly, you will see changes, not in a day, but within 4 to 6 weeks. And those changes will actually last because the system is correct. So if your glutes still look flat, it's not your effort. They were never doing the work. That's the real reason. Now you know how to fix it, with just 2 exercises. One for stretch, one for squeeze. That's all you need, if you do it right. Now tell me something. Which one do you struggle with more, stretch or squeeze? Comment below and start fixing it today.